Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdul Rauf Ansari and I am a student of University of Sindh, Faculty of Education. My topic is Test Testing and Evaluation, assigned by Dr. Amjad Arain. What is testing? It's an activity whose purpose is to determine what learners can do or know about something. What is test? It's a formal instrument to measure what candidates can do or know about something. Definition of test. Test is a process of identifying or detecting something in someone. Test is a means to examine the knowledge, skills, or ability of a learner. A procedure intended to establish the quality, performance, or reliability of something, especially before it is taken into widespread use. Meaning of test. Testing is finding out how well something works. Testing tells what level of knowledge or skill has been acquired. A test as an instrument of evaluation is a systematic procedure of description, collection, and interpretation in order to measure the test taker's achievement, ability, knowledge, and performance. Purpose of test. At the school level, educators create tests to measure their students' understanding of specific content or the effective application of critical thinking skills. Such tests are used to evaluate student learning, skill level, growth, and academic achievements at the end of an instructional period, such as the end of a project, unit, course, semester, program, or school year. Tests currently are being used to evaluate students, teachers, and the entire educational system. Because of this emphasis, more standardized tests are being examined and homework and classwork time is being devoted to preparing students to take them while less time is being spent on instructions. Types of test. Test area a way of checking knowledge or comprehension. They are the main instructional used to evaluate your learning by most education institutions. First is diagnostic test, placement test, progressive or achievement test, proficiency test, external test, internal test, objective test, subjective test, combination test, formative test, summative test, diagnostic test, norm reference test, criterion reference test, written test, oral test, practical test, essay test, objective test. These are the types of tests. Assessment. Definition of assessment. Assessment is a process of documenting knowledge, skills, attitudes, and beliefs, usually in measurable terms. The goal of assessment is to make improvement as opposed to simply being judged. In education, the term assessment refers to the wide variety of methods or tools that educators use to evaluate, measure, and document the academic readiness, learning progress, skill acquisition, or educational needs of standards. The process of gathering quantitative and qualitative data of what a student can do and how much a student possesses. It is a vital component of the teaching learning process. Gathering of data, analyzing data, interpreting data. Meaning of assessment. Assessment is a process by which information is obtained relative to some known objective or goal. Assessment is a broad term that includes testing. A test is a special form of assessment. Tests are assessments made under contrived circumstances, especially so that they may be administered. In other words, all tests are assessments, but not all assessments are tests. Purpose of assessment: to know learning level, to know difficulties, to know strong and weak points, to know learning reviews, to improve learning environment, to know about the skill of assessments, to diagnosis of student and teacher, to improve teaching instruction, to motivate, to check interest, checking and development, to promote, to check intelligence level, to check learning objectives, to check confidence and anxiety level, to check the level of understanding, to check the attitude development, to increase competition, to find the gaps between learning objectives and learning outcomes. Types of assessment: high stakes assessment, pre-assessments, formative assessments, summative assessments, interim assessments, placement assessments, screening assessments, standardized assessments, standard reference or standards-based assessment, common assessments, performance assessment, portfolio-based assessment. Scope of assessment: the scale of impact to which the skill, action, or behavior is demonstrated with quality. The minimum threshold for the scope dimension is performance at the needs improvement level. Collecting and analyzing information from previous capacity assessment. Assessing current roles, responsibilities, and capabilities of institutions for climate change adapting planning. Identifying gaps, both individuals, technical institution. Principles of assessment. First principle is assessment should be valid. Second is assessment should be reliable and consistent. Third is information about assessment should be explicit, accessible, and transparent. Fourth is assessment should be inclusive and equitable. Fifth is assessment should be an integral part of program design and should relate directly to the program aims and learning outcomes. Sixth is the amount of assessment work should be manageable. Formative and summative assessment should be included in each program. Eighth is timely feedback that promotes learning and facilitates proper improvement should be an integral part of the assessment process. Ninth is staff development policy and strategy should include assessment. Evaluation. Definition of evaluation: a critical appraisal of a degree to which a student has achieved set learning objectives. Careful application of scientific methods to assess different aspects of what students learn through certain program during a specific period. The process of determining to what extent the educational objectives are actually being realized. Evaluation is the process of determining what merit, worth, or significance, and evaluation is a product of that process. Meaning of evaluation: evaluation means to ascertain the growth and changes taking place in pupils as a result of teaching learning experience. To evaluate means to characterize the work or value of something. It is a method of determining the extent to which established goals or objectives have been achieved. It is a process of making an overlay of the outcomes and as an educative experience against the background of anticipated or stated objectives. It is not restricted to the result of test, an examination, or the teacher's estimate. Purpose of evaluation: to incentive to learn, feedback to assist students, modification of learning activities, selection of students, success or failure, feedback to teacher, school public relations, protection of society. Scope of evaluation: effectiveness of appraisal or methods of instruction, identifies the pupil's strength, weakness, difficulties and problem needs and demands, provides baseline for guidance and counseling, placement and promotion in jobs, development of attitudes, interest, creativity, capability, originality, knowledge and skills, development tools, techniques and curriculum. Four types of student evaluation. First steps of student evaluation. Step 1. The criteria of the education objectives. Second is development and use of measuring instruments. Third is interpretation of measurement data. Fourth is formulation of judgments and taking of appropriate action. Types of evaluation. Process of evaluation: to make adjustments in an educational activity. Adjustments may need to be made after one class or sessions before the next is taught. Occurs more frequently during and throughout every learning experience than any other type. This ongoing evaluation prevents problems before they occur or identify problems as they arise. Content evaluation. To determine whether learners have acquired the knowledge or skill taught during the learning experience. To answer the question, to what degree did learners achieve specified objectives, focusing on how the teaching learning process affected immediate short-term outcomes. Outcome evaluation summative. To determine the effects or outcomes of teaching efforts, its intent is to sum what happens as a result of education. Outcomes evaluation occurs after teaching has been completed or after a program has been carried out. Focuses on measuring long-term changes that persist after the learning experience. Outcome evaluation would focus on course guiding questions. Was teaching appropriate? Did the individuals learn? Were behavioral objectives met? Impact evaluation to determine the relative effects of education on the institution of the community. The scope of impact evaluation is broader, more complex, and usually more long-term than that of process, content, or outcome evaluation. Impact evaluation would focus on course goal. Program evaluation to determine the extent to which all activities for an entire program over a specific period of time met or exceed goals originally established. Scope of program evaluation is broad, generally focusing on overall goals rather than on specific objectives. It is encompassing all aspects of educational activity, process, content, outcome, impact. The time period over which data are collected may extend from several months to one or more years. Thank you.